everyone. Welcome to the Resourceful Vet Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Wilson, and today we're going to be talking to Jeff Krahl. Introducing Jeff Krahl. Jeff is an international business consultant. He is a high-performance coach, and as well, he has helped many people in launching their careers in business. Without further adu, I'd like to introduce Jeff Krahl. How you doing, Jeff?
All right, man. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you. Well, Jeff, I know that you have an extensive background in high-level coaching and launching businesses and just being a stand for people. And in particular, on today's podcast, we were talking about how we can help veterans succeed in guiding them and finding resources, careers outside of the uniform, and ultimately succeeding. So, I just kind of wanted to ask you. So, what are some of the obstacles that business owners, what are some of the obstacles that stop business owners from succeeding?
Yeah. So definitely, I love helping my veterans, because of the difference that they make and the freedom they give our country. So it's always a pleasure there. And the obstacles I think that usually show up for business owners, whether you're starting your business or whether you're in a place where you have an established business, it's usually, there's three major things that hold people at kind of a ceiling of their success, right? So imagine there's a ceiling, you've hit that wall, and you're either, stuck there, or you start seeing yourself fall down backwards in that area. And the most common thing that starts there when I'm working with my business owners, is they're trying to do everything on their own. So that's like the number one thing that I almost always recognize. And usually the signs are there is if you're a business owner and you feel like you're burned out, you're frustrated, you might feel fatigue, you might feel like you're treading water or not going anywhere, or you're failing in your business. If you're in that world, the likelihood is one of the most major obstacles is to get out of trying to do everything on your own. And so the key there would be delegating, like teaching them, how do you delegate certain things? How do you utilize technology and resources to be able to break through those steps? Because, if you think about it, just in veterans terms, right? You don't succeed all on your own. You succeed as a team, right? And so I think that's an important thing to really recognize is if you've hit that ceiling or you feel that burnout and frustration there, it usually has to do with that. So that'd be the first one. The second one I think that typically shows up is people that are what I would call naysayers. So these are all the people in your life or in your world that really either don't believe that you can achieve what you want to do, like they think your dream or your goal of what you want to do is too outrageous, so, or they think they think of you as that little kid that was doing something that you did, and they still look at you from that perspective versus a real adult who is on the path and wants to do something bigger and better, and they feel like, oh, you can't even do that. And so when you have those people around you, although they're not intentionally, or I would say most of them are not intentionally actually trying to say things to stop you, but we have that internal voice for ourselves that says things like, maybe I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, maybe I need to move on to something, or I'm not successful enough. We have all these our own internal fight with our brain for ourselves, that when these naysayers say certain things, they're confirming those negative conversations in our heads. And I think when that happens, it magnifies it and stops us. It stops business owners from either pushing harder or looking at different ways to grow their business. And so that's another major piece I think is your community. If you have a good community of people, then you have less likely to be stopped by that whole internal voice that you have for yourself. And then that would be number two. And then number three is shiny, I call it shiny object syndrome. But basically what that is, that's distractions. You're letting too many distractions get in your way. And business owners in general have tons and tons of distractions. They have business distractions, they have personal distractions, they have all these things that they're juggling, and they tend to jump from one thing to the next thing rather than keeping focused on the core things that are absolute and not letting the other things distract them enough from preventing them from doing the core things. Because once you stop your core lead generating activities in your business, you tend to create even more problems and more distractions inside your life. So, again, trying to balance those distractions is another key thing that usually stops business owners. And those are the three most common things that I notice every time I'm working with my business owners as I ask them questions or I get more clarity of what's going on in their business and what's stopping them. It usually comes down to a combination of all three of those, or a couple of those, or one of those in some sort of way or man. Is that helpful?
Oh yeah. That's huge. Just, I think, distractions, that's something all of us deal with. And, like you said, business and personal, managing and juggling all of those, is crucial to being able to succeed. I know from my own experience, just being in the military, and transitioning out, it's a completely different set of responsibilities. And, being able to understand now, on the path as a business owner and, entrepreneur and veteran, it's, just learning and, taking, different places that I've been, a tool or something that I've learned and utilizing that, to my, offense to succeeding. So, I love what you said about that.
Yeah, those shiny objects, right? They just get in your way, like, it's like, oh, you should do this. Oh, you should do this. Oh, you should do this. Or that's the best thing for you. Or, and usually what I find is when I ask my clients a series of questions, we get down to, so what are they actually trying to get accomplished? And what is really the step they need to focus on versus all the other things? Because a lot of times you should do this, or you should do this, and all these things, they distract you because you want to learn about all those things rather than actually take the single action that's going to move you forward in your business. So it's just a core thing that's there that happens. I want to say it's a universal trait, like we have normal human traits that get in our way. I think those are normal business traits that get in business owners' ways.
Absolutely. Well, anything else you want to say about with secrets, to helping, people succeed, or just obstacles?
Well, those are the key obstacles. I think there's some key secrets that are foundational pieces. So, I have something called my fifth power formula that I walk all of my business clients through, and it keeps them focused. It keeps them in the right order of how to do that. And the core of all of those things really come down into three little, I guess you can call them secrets like you talked about, but maybe there are three little areas to focus on. And the first one is always clarity and focus. Like really having them get complete clarity and focus on what their mission is, what their vision is, how they're going to actually build the business and grow the business. With what's happening in the world today, certain business owners have been stuck because their vision and their mission wasn't so clear, and then the different avenues of how to grow their business wasn't clear. So if one avenue is no longer working because people can't come into their business, right, then what was plan B? And are they already implementing plan B, and starting to move forward in that? You don't go into any sort of project not knowing, like, here's plan A. If it doesn't work, or if this gets stopped, how are we going to pivot to that next area that's going to continue to keep us growing towards our mission and our vision? And so I think clarity and focus is an important thing, and that's another key thing that I spend a lot of time with my business owners, because they feel and think like they have clarity and focus, but then when I ask them certain questions, you can start to hear them bobble around it or have uncertainty around it. And if they've been building on top of uncertainty, they're just not working at their highest performance level. And I am a certified high performance coach for the Institute of High Performance, and they did the largest study on high performers, everything from Olympic athletes, CEOs, and professionals all over the world. And we know that core habits that actually generate those results. And so it's a matter of, how do you get clarity on those core habits for a business owner, and then break it down into single, simple, actionable items for them to implement. Because when you have that big long list, it's like, it clouds your brain, right? And the goal about clarity is to take all that fog out of the way, so that you just have complete clarity to go at full speed, to really be able to push the metal to the pedal, or and just go all out, right? I mean, and that's key, So I think clarity and focus is one of those major things that you want to look at. And I learned a long time ago from one of my mentors that there is this process he called the red car syndrome, and that's your reticular activating system. And we all have it. That's the kind of a bundle of nerves that sit at our brainstem, and basically it allows the important stuff to come in, and it disappears all the unimportant stuff. And so if you're not crystal clear on what those important stuff is, then you're not going to be able to see it, even if all those opportunities are right there in front of you in your business. And that's an important thing. So he called it the red car syndrome, because he said, Jeff, you ever found yourself like looking for a car? Let's just say a red, BMW. And I was just like, okay. So he's like, you notice when you chose that that's what you wanted was a red BMW, almost immediately your reticular activating system kicks in, and you said, this is important and this is what you're going to get. And the next day you're driving on the highway, and I'll bet you anything you're going to start seeing red BMWs. You're going to go, well, there's a BMW. Oh, there, that's my color. That's not my color. But you're going to start seeing BMWs everywhere. Why is that? Because you told your brain this was important to you, and you had complete clarity that this is why you wanted it, and you were going to get it. Now, I think of it also, and then it also says, but that red car and that BMW was always there every day you drove to work beforehand. You just never recognized it. And that's the same thing in businesses. I think those business opportunities that can grow people's businesses are always there. It's just, do they have the clarity for that, so that they can focus in on that and get results? So I was just thinking as I was saying that too, it's kind of like target marketing on the internet nowadays. People don't realize this, but when you say, hey, I want this, or you look up and do a search on something, you can actually be tagged now, and advertisers can follow you about that specific thing. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, Taylor, where you're like, hey, I want to get this, and you're looking up at it and you start searching it, and then the next day and the next day and the next day, there's all these advertisements for that exact thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like the same reticular activating system, except for that's paid marketing versus your actual brain operating on what you really want.
Oh, yeah.
But there is a correlation to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, that's true. I mean, it's, correlates to, how you see things and, shows up in your occurring. So definitely. Well, what are some of the things that you've done with clients that have, had immediate impact, from their life?
Hmm. Yeah, I think well, one of the biggest things too. So that's one major clarity and focus. The other one was mindset, and I think mindset's another core one that most business owners don't spend a lot of time in and need to,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times, again, they hit that ceiling of what they think is possible, which holds them in there, and their mindset is in that mindset. Whereas if you ask someone that's way beyond that level, their mindset is at a whole different level because they don't think the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And so shifting that thinking makes a big difference. I know one of my clients is a financial advisor, so I work with financial advisors every once in a while, and his mindset was that he's already delivering a certain value to his client worth a certain amount, when realistically he was way undervalued. Like, that's just what he thought his value was worth, even though it was worth more.
Mm-hmm.
And when I walked him through a series of questions and helping him identify the value he's really worth, he started to realize, I'm almost worth twice the value of what I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually a little bit more than that, but we narrowed it down. I said, well, what if it was just half,
Mm-hmm.
half of that big number that you thought? And so he literally doubled his pricing. Okay. And one of the mindset that I shared with him was like, your clients over the years have been getting tremendous value at such a low rate, and they're so appreciative that they would be okay paying the current market value by you just increasing the value of what you're doing. And that's exactly what he did. He doubled his pricing of what he was doing, and clients still continue to purchase from him, continue to work with him, and literally went from a $1 million company to a $2.5 million company, and all by shifting the mindset and belief level of what was possible for him. And again, a lot of times as business owners, we're juggling so many different things. We're not really working on the things that can make significant differences in our business very quickly. So mindset would be another core one that's there. And then the last one I think would be super powerful for my business owners that I've noticed is really having either a process that they're following or some sort of systematic way of getting predictable results. So that's a piece that most of the time they're not documenting it. Like when you ask them what's the flow chart of it, and I think for veterans and military, they're really clear, right? There's always a process. There's always a procedure. There's always, a step-by-step way that things need to be done or people's lives are in danger, right? And so I think if you take that same mentality into the business, you're less likely to fail in your business and utilizing those, key procedures and processes. So I really have a process to follow. So like when I'm working with my clients, I have a process. It's my 5th power formula, and I walk them through each one of those steps and the exercises because I know if they go through those steps in the right order, because a lot of times it's the order, right? Like when you're baking a cake, it's how you put those ingredients together, not that you just drop them all in at the same time. And so when you have that procedures and that formula of what to follow, then you're more likely to get bigger results, faster results, and usually go way beyond what you think is possible.
Absolutely. Well, mindset's important. So, absolutely. I think that, all of that's crucial. Well, thank you again, Jeff, for, doing this with us today. And, I want to thank you. And, Appreciate it. So until next time, let's let that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate it. And if there's anything I can do for anyone, just obviously let me know. You can reach me in all the different avenues that are out there. So look forward to sharing anything else I can do.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff.
You bet.